Hello there. So today's post is about feedback to the learners. I was speaking to a primary school teacher the other day, and it got me thinking about what sort of feedback we should be giving our learners. Do you want to be an awesome trainer? I have a training program based on quality, which is in turn linked to the EIF inspection criteria. The training program takes you from the start of delivering the apprenticeship program to the end and will give you confidence in your performance management meetings and also any Ofsted, and will enable you to believe in your awesome abilities. So I was talking to a primary school teacher who was talking about marking work, and we decided it was probably easier to mark a younger child's work. Um, I don't even know what year we're talking about, but the littlest ones, as there's less of it. Um, However, I stated I would find it really hard to be positive about work submitted um, if it was wrong. I know I'm a bad parent and absolutely not suitable for teaching primary school children. I get that. But the phrase that was used by the teacher was the next steps, which I thought was fantastic. I love that because next steps is precisely what needs to be done to get better. So, well, that's great. And it, as I say, then that gave me thought about our feedback to our learners. Now, I know you've probably got it off pat. And all of the things that I'm going to talk about you do, which is absolutely fantastic, but it may just give you food for thought about things that you've done so long that you've actually forgotten or forget to do, etc. So I was at a performance meeting a long time ago, and the manager was talking to a team member about a performance issue. And at the end of the meeting, I couldn't help but notice that the issues were discussed, absolutely, but actually there was no plan to support the member to get to the required standard. And I spoke to the manager afterwards and said, so what have you agreed with the team member? What are their next steps? Because feedback for everyone has to be the starting block to enable people to move forward to reach their goal. Now, it doesn't have to be a set of instructions if that person is involved in perfectly capable of working out a plan of action. However, the one thing that is important is an agreed action with a realistic timescale. So your feedback shows how the learner can improve on work handed in and the next progression steps and a timescale, all of which is perfectly understood by the learner and the employer as necessary. Now, one of the most fantastic innovations we've had is the learner portfolio platform. I know it's been there forever, but I actually still remember when it was paper based, and when you got to the learner that you'd left a month ago and not been attempted, the dog had ate it. And basically, there was always a bingo about what phrase you'd never heard before. One of the ones was that I thought was pretty good, and I added that to the bingo. Was it being stolen in a burglary? And I still imagine now a person dressed in a stripy jumper with a sack on the back, picking up a dog-eared business admin level 2 and being mesmerised and putting it in the swag bag, which I don't think would happen, would it? But anyway, no, that's fine. But it did mean, though, that actually meant that not only had you lost a month, you'd lost another month because obviously the work you gave them was in addition to, which they hadn't even done in the first place. I think now what we have is more bites to the cherry, don't we, with the portfolio? They add the work on the system, and you can mark it before you see them. So then you've done that, you give them feedback, and you give them the next bit, which, as I say, allows you more bites to the cherry. But the one thing that I have found with trainers is that it's like with everything, isn't it? if you don't do a day's work, so you've gone out, you've done an assessment, you've done all the notes, you just need to sort of like add it on, if you don't do that in a day, in the day you've done it, it's really then difficult to catch up if you are seeing somebody every day, which some of us are. And by the end of the week, then you think, well, I'll put it all on. But you're actually forgetting a lot of it, aren't you? Because they are only notes. You forget a lot of it. And also, it's a mammoth task. And one thing I always did used to say is like, just keep it in bite-sized pieces. I always talk about bite-sized pieces. So don't let it get too much. Because then the feedback that you are giving to the learner is totally to that learner, because you can remember them, you've done that, you've seen them, you can say, you might like to add this, or you haven't done that, and that's your next task, etc., etc. But if you're trying to do it like a weekly or monthly, then it gets harder. And also, if we remember that the one thing about a portfolio platform is that it shows the progress of the learner, and that has to be updated. It has to be in real time, rather than a learner knowing that there's 4 pieces of work that still needs to go on that program for the real progress to be shown, because that's always a sticking point. And it's not helpful, because then the learner can't take responsibility of their learning, because they feel that they have got more. But of course, only you know how much they've actually covered when you've put it in the system. So somebody may be thinking that they've given you a piece of work that covers everything. They haven't got to do anything more, that's done. But actually, in fact, there are gaps. There's the the portfolios have gap analysis, don't they? There are gaps that need to be filled. So as I say, really, really important to keep yourself on top of your work. Some people running a small business, they get in every night and they do their receipts, and they do that. This is money taken in, this is a backs payment, etc., etc. And the accountants love them far better, because all of their receipts are in envelopes for the end of the year, and all of their numbers are down. They've already calculated. They much prefer those customers, rather than the ones that are in a bag that's reeking of curry, so that they have a carrier bag and they just chuck every single receipt in and give it to the accountant, because that costs, one, it costs more money, two, the amount of time that takes the accountant, or obviously assistant, to go through it is phenomenal, which they've got to pay for. But not only that, they're out of control. So I think for us, as long as we keep in control of our feedback, that it's positive, even if it's stuff that needs to be done, that it enables the learner to know what the next steps are, then do you know what, we're good to go. And these are sorts of things that will be evidenced from an inspection. Because obviously they'll need to know what sort of support is the trainer giving the employer. There you are. This is the sort of support. So thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to join our awesome trainer support page on Facebook. The link is in the post, and also start following our hashtag, which is hashtag Nu-Gnu for you. And then you can find all of our posts, all our previous posts. And if they're interesting to you and you think they'll be interesting to somebody else, let us know. You take care. Bye-bye.